Welcome to Beyond the Playbook, where leaders reveal the real-world pivots, setbacks, and creative strategies that shape their biggest wins.
Okay, perfect. Well, hey, Rob, thanks so much for being here. Welcome. Welcome to the Beyond the Playbook podcast. So I've been looking forward to meeting you and having this conversation because literally few people have navigated and influenced the sports and entertainment industry at a global level the way you have. So with the decades shaping the Olympic sponsorship, the mega events you've done, iconic brand partnerships, I'm just excited to dig into what's truly driving the success and transformation of this space. So, we're talking about leaders who have maybe gone and added their own flavor, moved beyond what you might know from the grad school, from traditional business people, and you've had just tremendous success. What's you can't find in a book. Maybe we can find it in your book, though. So, before we dive in, you're joining us from North Carolina, right?
Charlotte, or actually Davidson, North Carolina, the home of Steph Curry.
Oh, right. I went to school at the College of Charleston and watched him just light us up. It was so entertaining because he's such a great player.
Well, his father played here as well. I didn't realize that.
Okay.
And Davidson is a very small school and in a small town. He shows up once in a while, and the best PR that Davidson College gets is when he wins championships, because they always say Steph Curry of Davidson, right? and so it's a good PR move. It's interesting, they don't have a big sports program.
Right.
They do not offer sports marketing as a curriculum, because I thought, wow, I could just walk down the street and teach a course, that would be great. And they don't have it. It's a liberal arts school, and so it's a small town, very cute, far enough away from Charlotte, close enough to Charlotte for the airport, and it's a good place to be. And I live on this thing called Lake Norman, which is a huge man-made lake, it was built by Duke Energy, and back in the 50s and 60s, and it's massive. I mean, it's so deep you could run a submarine through here. I mean,
gracious.
It's really good. And what they did was Duke Energy bought all the property, and what they did is they flooded the ravine. Towns and houses and all that stuff 65 feet deep. So it's a fun recreational spot.
Well, sounds like a lot of things going outside the playbook, making things happen. Huge lake, huge talent in Steph Curry. Well, let's give our listeners some context about you. So you've got the 21 Sports Entertainment and Marketing Group. Can you tell us a little bit about the company, what it looks like you do nowadays, who you serve, maybe some big challenges you're working to solve for your clients right now?
Yeah, I started it in 1991.
That's right.
I had been working for a firm that was hired by both the International Olympic Committee and FIFA, the World Cup. And so, I got pretty successful doing that. And then I said, I'm going to start my own firm. Took the Olympics with me, took the World Cup with me. Then I got a cold call from Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys, and he wanted to, I thought it was a joke because I'm a big Bills fan. And he wanted to hire me, and he hired me to build a local sponsor program for him and to take on the NFL. And I'll never forget saying this to him. I said, Jerry, he's animated now, but he was really animated back in the day. And I said, if I'm successful, if we're successful, the NFL is not going to think this is funny. This is, they no fun league, NFL. And so we were successful, created a program that kind of was counterintuitive to NFL properties. And we got Pepsi, Nike, and American Express. And so NFL sued Jerry for $400 million, and Jerry sued the NFL for 700 million, and somehow something all came out in the wash, and they all loved each other, and on and on and on. So it was a fun 2 or 3 year adventure. Working with Jerry. No matter what you think of the guy, he is a great guy. I mean, he's personally, and he would go to any. He's a salesman, so he would go to any sales meeting if I thought it was worthy of him, and he would tell. He was in the insurance business. He had he had either inquired it from his father, or he started his own insurance money business, created enough wealth to get into the oil business. He was a wildcatter, and that's where he took every dime he had and bought the Cowboys. But he was an insurance guy.
Wow. So, I mean, you it's almost like you went from at the helm. You started this company in '91.
Yep.
What is the secret sauce, or what did that look like to go and grab onto these global brands? I mean, how do you go from that zero to you're getting a call from Jerry Jones? I mean, is it a client strategy? Are you more of a deal maker? Are you kind of guiding the overall vision? What does that day to day look like for you?
Yes, all the above. So
And more.
I think at the time, before that, I worked for ABC News.
NBC,
in sales and marketing. And when I first got involved with the Olympic Games, I realized they were missing 2 things. They were missing, one, a state-of-the-art presentation. And in the old days, they would do slides or acetates and all that kind of stuff. And so, I introduced them to creating network quality presentations, videos and graphics and explanations and all that kind of stuff. And we put that, nowadays everybody does it on PowerPoint, but back in the day, we did it on a thing called Laserdisc.
Yeah.
You remember Laserdisc?
That's where I watched the movie Twister, Laserdisc.
Yeah, I mean, it was an expensive adventure, but it was produced by 3M, and so you had to lay down all your graphics. There was no changes. I mean, or if you changed it, it was like 10 grand a change. And so we did that. So the shock and awe of a quality presentation was probably the first thing that I did. The second thing, Tyler, was research. They had no research. And so I got them to invest in quality research, simple things like, what do you think of the Olympic brand?
Sure.
What do you think of companies who sponsor the Olympic Games? I mean, there were like 6 questions, 7 questions, and they never had that. So I was out in front of I think, technology or sales at the time, and that allowed me to make a bunch of deals, allowed me to go from Olympic Games to FIFA to Jerry Jones to Smithsonian and eventually NASA, and then Mitt Romney in Salt Lake City. But now it's a little different because everybody does research. Everybody does, PowerPoint, death by PowerPoint. And so so those were my two special features that got me to where I was. I was also blessed that I didn't have anybody looking over my shoulder like a big corporation like ABC and who would tell you, no, you can't talk to the media. I talk to the media all the time. And so that raised and elevated my brand, my personal brand and 21's brand. And because I didn't have the IOC telling me, no, you can't talk. You got to go through our communications people. And the IOC was very, very small. They were almost bankrupt when I got involved with them. And so they were very appreciative to the revenues and the companies that I brought in. So those were the key. We were always a small shop. I think the largest we ever got was 20 people. And I hated managing the business. So the other thing I did is I got a really good consigliere, and he managed the business. He was my COO, so I would go off and sell stuff, and he would figure it out, and he'd also keep me in the fairway. Meaning,
That's awesome.
if I was to the left or to the right, or if I was a little outrageous in an interview, he'd go, "Rob, you can't say that," you know. So
Yeah.
but that was that. You always need a good number two.
Absolutely. So, well, I guess let me turn it back the other way. There's been a lot of disruption in, like you said, research, whether it's the advent of the internet when you were coming along and that changed research, or with AI nowadays. How do you think that's impacted the way that you kind of have a competitive advantage with these players? Are you relying, is it more so you've got the reputation and so you've got this prestige that you can come in with, or how do you see other people trying to break through that could be successful in this environment?
Well, it's strange to say this, but when we started 21, or I started 21, there was no internet. I mean,
Yeah.
the internet existed, but you didn't
That's what I'm
use
saying.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't. I didn't start using email until 1994, I think it was, or 1995. There were no cell phones. I mean, imagine that. I mean, the
Yeah.
millennials today can't imagine either or. And so I was doing this deal with the then MCI. I don't know if you remember MCI. It was a phone company.
Okay.
And was doing the deal, and they were the first ones, and they had their own internet communications group. And they said, I said, well, I'm going to fly down and negotiate the contract. And they said, no, you need to use the internet, and we're going to negotiate the contract over email. And I was dumbfounded, because I was used to
Yeah.
sitting in these big conference rooms negotiating over the thing. I never saw the lawyer from the other side, never saw him. And so we
amazing.
negotiated these big, but MCI introduced me to internet, email, and that was 94. I mean, way back then. And I know we'll get into the book in a minute, but
Yeah.
one of the reasons why the book was so easy to write is I kept every email since 1994.
Wow.
Every email. And, I've got a big server here that stores it in now the cloud.
Wow.
And so I could go back and research the stories. Jerry wasn't email.
Yeah, that's
Jerry
amazing.
He used to do his faxes back and forth. But to address AI is a little scary.
Yeah.
Now, it helps me in my current business because I'm still active. Because if a year ago, 2 years ago, if I wanted to reach out to Verizon, I'll make that up. I would have to do a Google search to find who in that structure is making decisions, how much money they spend, all that kind of stuff. And it would take me an hour and a half. Now I just type in who's the decision maker at Verizon and how much money they spend on media, pops up just like that. And
That's
so
amazing.
it is a major tool. I don't know, because we do these Zoom calls all the time. I don't know sometimes how effective they are, and not you and I, but I'm talking about when I'm pitching a piece of business, because the good news about being face to face is you develop a relationship with somebody.
100%.
The bad news is I could spend thousands of dollars to fly to Seattle to meet with Microsoft, get into a room and have the technology didn't work, spent thousands of dollars, and there was a meeting before me and a meeting after, and it just was a cluster. So to do a Zoom thing, as a pre-call, and then jump on an airplane and do that, because I don't want to lose touch with the old-fashioned face-to-face.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, relationship is what all sales is,
Yeah.
and all business, kind of like what you were saying. Can you talk a little bit about kind of managing the larger clients and what it meant to retain those folks, not just what it looked like to win them over in a pre-internet phase, and maybe speak a little bit to what you're doing now, business-wise?
Yeah, those are three questions. So, first of all, when you have a big brand like the Olympic Games,
Sure.
people take the call. Okay, so that
Right.
was half the heavy lifting. They, you got to, I always said, I said this earlier. I went in with entertainment, meaning the presentation.
Yeah.
Not everyone worked. We were asking for back in the day huge amounts of money.
Yeah, 10 million, 15 million.
Yeah, now it's 200 million. But so I had the attention, and I could get into the boardrooms, and I could get into C-level people very easily. But again, we were asking for monies that, Wall Street Journal wrote this one article way back in the day that I was asking for monies, so much money that a company could build a factory, on the money I was asking. However, this was a brand play. So, I proved to them that if they did the Olympic competition, they could sell more toothpaste, or more coffee, or more cars. So some of these deals, the longest deal, because I monitor it, was took me 22 months from the first call to the presentations to get them to sign that contract. That took me 22 months. The quickest, believe it or not, was the United States Postal Service, who bought a global plan for $10 million. And I did that deal over a half-hour cup of coffee with the the CMO of the post office. He shook my hand, I shook his. Papers were exchanged, and it was all over. So it could go from 30 minutes to 22 months to get some of this stuff done. Maybe that answers question 1 or 2. 3 is I have this contract with a group called Nexstar Media, which is the largest media company in America. They own News Nation, they own the CW, but they also own 215 local television stations serving 115 markets. And these are big TV stations. You got WPIX in New York, KTLA in Los Angeles, KRON in San Francisco, WGN in Chicago. They own this. I don't know what affiliation. They own one in Nashville, and they own one in Charlotte. They're a behemoth that nobody's ever heard of. And so my job is to go to Olympic sponsors or World Cup sponsors and make them an offering. But this is a media play, not a marketing play. It's all media. So that's one project. Number 2 is on a smaller scale, helping out the Foundation for Sickle Cell Research, which, it's kind of a little bit of a pet project. And my, hand on heart goes out to those folks. And I'm working on that. And then I'm always working on, you're only as good as your next big deal, okay? And so I'm working on a deal to get back working with the IOC again, and working on their next generation of sponsors and communications.
That's huge. The sickle cell, is there a personal connection for that, or how did you get involved with that?
They cold called me. They used AI. I said, how'd you find me? And they said, well, we used AI.
There you go.
And so they were, without getting in the weeds, they've got a foundation that does research, because people think sickle cell went away. No, it did not go away. And they don't have a cure for it. And so they still need funding for research, and they like to use celebrity athletes, Deion Sanders and
Yeah.
Magic Johnson, and it's a sore spot in the minority community.
Yeah.
We all think just African Americans have sickle cell. No, I mean it goes into the Hispanic community in a deep way, and it's not just a U.S. problem; it's a global problem. So it was a cold call, and I had some spare time, and I said, yeah, I'll help you guys.
That's amazing.
So that is that's very close to my heart.
Yeah, well, that's incredible. I was gonna ask you as we kind of pivot towards looking ahead, what you're most energized about, new projects, emerging opportunities. You mentioned a little bit about the IOC and stuff, but I know that you're still kind of campaigning and sharing a little bit more about your book. Didn't know if you wanted to share kind of how that kind of came about, what kind of triggered you to say, okay, now's the time to write this, and yeah, anything you want to share about that? I'd love to hear about it.
Thank you. I will tell you that I'm always looking for the last crusade. I need one more crusade, and I'll never retire. They'll put me in the ground before I retire. And you've always got to be looking over your shoulder because you got the next generation thinking they could do it better than you. I mean, that's just the nature.
Sure.
When I was off and running, and I would look at the previous generation and go, I want nothing to do with you. I can do it better. So I understand that mentality.
Yeah.
So, one last big crusade would be terrific. We got involved in a project called America 250, which was the 250th anniversary. Created a major platform for them, a plan to raise 125 million, and the original administration imploded because of a lawsuit that was brought by four women who felt that they were discriminated against. I had nothing to do with it, but it just imploded the entire thing. So they started over. But we laid the groundwork for what they're doing. So now they're doing extremely well, and the celebration is not about one day. Should be
a bunch of events and activities that kind of go on, promotions.
The whole thing. So they're off and running. That was supposed to be my last crusade, and when it all imploded, I had to find a crusade. So the IOC thing is interesting because the other thing I had in my advantage back in the day was there was only two global properties, Olympics and World Cup. And now there are tons of global properties, and there's tons of media and all that kind of stuff. It's cluttered, and there are only two or three really big sports marketing firms. Now there are hundreds of them, and everybody thinks they know what they're doing. So Warren Buffett had a great line. He said, first they're innovators, then there are imitators, then there are idiots. So in many ways, the idiots have kind of taken over the business. So it's tough to rise and shine and get to the next level. So I'm a 2-person, 3-person shop, and I'm happy because I can control my destiny. I have a knock on wood, a decent reputation where people hire me. I understand my age. It's not as if, I'm still trying to compete with 30-year-olds.
Sure.
I know my role. And so my role is to assist and contribute these properties. And that's what it is. Now, you ask about the book. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's right here.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the classic case study. There it is.
Yeah, I mean,
Visa versus MasterCard.
It's big. It's like 500 pages. But I knew in '85, when I first got involved with the IOC, that we were on to something. And so this is before laptops and all that kind of stuff. I would go to meetings and I would take out a big yellow pad and I would take notes on airplanes because what else you do on an airplane? And so I threw all those notes in a big box, and so I was writing as I went on, and then when the laptop came out, oh my God, that was a game changer, and because I could sit down and type versus yellow pads, and so I've been trying to write it, God, for
Oh, wow.
years, 35 years, but I
Incredible.
kept every physical presentation, every contract.
Wow.
And then when the internet came along, every email. And so when I put the stories together, it's not all just about the Olympics. It's about Jerry Jones and Smithsonian and others.
Yeah.
It was easy for me to backtrack and pull this stuff out to make it relevant and be specific. So that was, and it ends in 2010. So I'm that's part one. I'm working
Yes.
on part two, which it's all up here. It's just got to get from here to there to the computer.
So it's kind of a story of tenacity. I mean, wow. So from writing it, handwritten it to the laptops to the
Yeah.
old emails.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
I talked to a guy the other day,
Huh.
I knew years ago, and he's letting AI write his book.
Sure.
And I said, how the heck do you do that? I don't know. I think you give AI access to all your data, and then they
Sure.
write it. But it's the personal stories that make a book interesting.
Yeah.
So, and the good news is you don't make a lot of money writing business books. I mean, unless you're, or books in general, Stephen King. But I thought the educational community would have picked up on it more than they did because there's so many sports marketing colleges these days. And no, they really didn't. Out of nowhere, I'll get a call from a business person that don't know from a plate of rice, and not a call, but an email, and saying, "Listen, I read your book, fabulous, thank you, thank you, thank you," and again, you don't make money but and then every once in a while, a piece of business will come in. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the story of the book.
That's incredible. Well, what kind of challenges are you seeing right now with where you want to go? What are some of the places where you're looking to close in gaps? Like you said, you're trying to go to the IOC, or there ways that your partner or AI or other solutions you're trying to leverage to do what you're doing?
Yeah, I think I always wanted to do things differently, and so sports is so cluttered. The IOC is a different animal, okay, and you got the World Cup next year too, which is that's gonna be a big thing, and not the Club World Cup. I'm talking about the international country World Cup, and that's gonna be big. And so to find America 250 was great because it was different. When I did Smithsonian, it was different. When I did NASA, that was different. So to find the next different property would be great. Years ago, I went to National Archives and came up with an idea of aggregating the presidential libraries and putting them on tour. And again, this is way before in virtual reality and all this kind of stuff. And we almost got it off the ground. And what happened was the Great Recession hit, and our one funder, who's going to give us $50 million to fund the whole project, backed out of the deal, and because the company was struggling. And so we shelved the project, but I would still love to go back to archives and say, listen, there's so much, history in our presidents. There's so much education that can be made, and now with AI, you can do so much.
Oh, sure.
I was talking to this one group that very interesting. They developed a technology that you could talk to all 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, yeah.
So you could Ben Franklin is a good
Yeah.
example. And I said, well, if you can do it with the 56 signers, there's only 4 or 5 that are really famous, Hancock, and
Yeah.
both Adams. And you could do it with all the presidents,
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go back and talk to Lincoln or Kennedy. I mean, and so they're working on that. And if I could combine both projects, a physical tour,
Yeah.
because I still think that there's demand for physical entertainment, I mean, going someplace,
Absolutely.
and then with the intellectual ability of having a kid in high school, get instead of a textbook, get get something that says, hey, your job is to talk to Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
Ask him anything. Okay.
That's awesome.
That would be something that would be extremely cool. So I'm still, even though I'm in my 70s, I'm still looking at, what do you do, like the laser disc? What do you do
Yeah.
differently to get out in front of mediocrity that has taken over the media and marketing world?
Yeah, what strikes me about talking to you is how you have constantly innovated through some of the biggest changes we've had. I remember being a kid and have seen the first car phone come out and thinking that was the craziest thing, or 56K dial-up from paper to the laptop. You've just seen a technological advance throughout your working career that's amazing that you've evolved and innovated in the spaces you've been in. I don't think I ever could have carried a book 30 years along with me and birthed it. It's amazing.
Yeah,
So
it was. I had this big box, 2 of them, that were in my storage units. And so once the laptop came out and you had Microsoft Word, I would sit, it just transcribed the notes into a story, and then I would have this one young lady who had an incredible sense of humor. She helped me edit it, I don't know, 20 years ago. And
That's
so
awesome.
then I sent the parts, like Mitt Romney is a friend. And no matter what your politics are, he's a good guy and a great leader.
yeah,
So I worked for him during the Salt Lake Games, so I would send him his part and say, what do you want me to change? Okay. So Jerry Jones, but he never responded, sent him his part. Okay. Never responded, but I'm very gracious to Jerry in the book. And he's chapter 1 and he's chapter 11, which is the last one. But again, the book ends 2010. Got a lot more stories to tell from 2010, but I just ran out of gas. I mean, 35 years writing this thing. And then, and I left a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor, stories, so I can go back and add it in part 2.
yes, we need to get you a ghostwriter, someone to come in and help kind of tease the stories out of you and finish part 2 for us.
Yeah, that would be terrific, just to have enough energy, because it's all on my computer. I mean, it just, all I have to do is, figure out. I figured out the theme already, and the theme is going to be, it's still going to be called The Olympics Don't Take American Express Part 2, but it's going to be innovators, imitators, and idiots, so.
Hey, there's nothing more appropriate for the time we're living in right now.
That's correct.
That's awesome. Well, Rob, this has been incredibly insightful. I love it. Your stories, again, just your general tenacity of your career is inspiring, because we're in a time where everyone's in over here. Even with ADHD, I'm like, okay, how do I just
Right.
stay on? And so, yeah, just I appreciate your time, and I just look forward to part two, I guess, coming out and hearing all the stories you got.
Yeah, and then there always will be a part three.
There you go.
Because part two will probably go through 2024, and then 2025 on will be part three if I'm alive.
Well, I just love that you're like you said, you're actually living out the, hey, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And it just, maybe you just emanate vision, which I feel like can be lacking.
Yeah, the challenge is, I'm digressing here, but today's challenge is there's so many idiots that are out there that it really taints the mind of the real decision maker at these corporations, and it's tough to get through. And everybody does email. Now everybody is texting, and I find that very intrusive when I get a business text. I just, on my personal phone. I don't like it, so I don't do it. I know I should, but I don't do it. The most success I had, a few years ago was I would actually send a letter by either FedEx or the Postal Service, and that got through. And then, of course, we got COVID, and nobody went to the office. So, it's like old school is new school, coming
Absolutely.
back around again, or calling somebody, But again, I find it very intrusive to call somebody on their personal, a decision maker, a chairman, CMO, and saying, hey, you don't know me from a plate of rice, but I represent, XYZ, and we'd like to come in and make a presentation for you. But again, I keep on coming back to you, Tyler, and say it's about the research. And research is fundamental because it allows your champion inside a corporation to make a case on why they should sponsor something, advertise in something, versus it just feels right to me, or I have a personal interest in NASCAR or in automobile racing. It makes a difference because somebody can prove the case.
That's incredible. Well, maybe the next deal is with Kyle Perry. I don't know if you've heard of his ministry to people that usually can't go to camps and stuff, but he gets folks that need high intensive medical care and puts on Victory Junction is what it's called. Camps, and it's in the North Carolina area. There's all NASCAR guys.
Yeah,
But
they all drive like they're auditioning for NASCAR. I mean, it's crazy. Years ago, I don't want to take too much of your time, but
you're good. You're good.
years ago, I tried to aggregate the mega preachers, Joel Osteen and some of the others, and because they make a ton of money, they all do their own thing. Some of them are global. They write books. They all have television or media, and that would be another cool project. And they all have their own little agents. Okay, but to aggregate them as one package would be kind of cool. And I just got distracted with something, and I never pursued it. I met with Olstein's people, and he's a machine. I mean,
Of course.
He's a force, but they're also, number 2, number 3, number 4. I mean, there are 10 of them that are mega preachers.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like that might be a little intense. An intense space to navigate.
Yeah.
Well, hey, what I'd love to do is put your information in the show notes and kind of place where to find your book and all that stuff for any of the listeners. But yeah, I mean, again, I thank you for your time. Is there any other upcoming initiatives or things you want to share with our audiences before we wrap?
No, I mean, to be self-serving. The book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, so it's your usual suspects. it comes in a hard copy or digital.
Okay.
It's a
Can we
long
expect an
read.
audio? Can we get an audible coming out sometime soon?
You know, they offered me the ability to do that, and I just ran out of money. I go,
Yeah.
you know, enough's enough.
Buddy.
Um, and so I didn't do the Audible version of it. A lot of people have asked, and I forget the amount of money they asked. They wanted me to do it because you know you self-publish, you got to pay and all that kind of
Sure.
stuff. And then, so that is it, and I'm open to ideas. Anybody's got another crusade for me, I'm there.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again for being on the Beyond the Playbook podcast and taking your time with us.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.